Well, Steinhoff International is a global investment company with interests in the household goods sector and related industries. Its South African assets are now held via JD Group and CAP International, and it has major interests in furniture manufacturers and retail in Europe. It has a market cap of 53 billion rand, a price to earnings ratio of 9.5 and a dividend yield of 2.6. Steinhoff. Gary, you start talking, otherwise Paul's not going to give you the platform.
Okay. No, okay, obviously Steinhoff originally started as a furniture manufacturer. I think they started, almost as a trading company between Eastern Europe and Western Europe before, for fall of the Berlin Wall. It did very well. Berlin Wall came down. They sort of increased their manufacturing capacity in Eastern Europe, and since then have basically followed a strategy of vertical integration. So they've literally just been buying everything from the timber all the way to the retail shops. Right now, I mean, they've obviously, I think it was last year, they did the Conforama deal, which gave them a massive footprint in France, gave them access to new markets all across Europe, and I think, a company moving from strength to strength.
Well, it looks as though they're all moving from strength to strength. Anything in the consumer space right now is very, very hot.
That last little surge, though, has come on the back of the generalized sense now that Europe is not finished, which is always, for me, a total joke. Who was going to say Europe is finished? As though they were going through something worse than the Black Plague or the collapse of the Spanish Empire. Really, what we've seen there is a sort of settling down. People are no longer anxious that France is insolvent and that Spain is about to fall out of bed and that Italy, because that's where Steinhoff's Conforama business, which they bought from a French multinational, is based. And there's a big upside there if they can just kind of stabilize that market and see it grow.
So you're saying market sentiment effectively is going to drive the stock higher, given the fact that it's been marked down with its European affiliation?
Look, this one's on a lower PE by far than all those others. Those are, we're talking about, all on like 25s and 30s. This one is on a PE below 10. And it's because they've always sailed a bit close to the wind. Marcus Jooste and his mates have always pushed the envelope. They've always been heavy debt, big capex, restructuring, complicated financials, never have a chance to settle the financials down. They do another deal. But I think it's an interesting opportunity. It's perked up above 30 Rand a share, and I think Europe goes well from here.
Perhaps additional risk brings additional reward, Gary?
Possibly. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, they do have quite a high debt. They are quite highly geared, but I mean, their interest cover is also very decent. So I mean, they are managing to sort of pay it down. They're obviously looking at new ways of raising capital. They're trying to list London, Frankfurt, Paris as well. So I think, I think they're probably worth the risk. Yeah.
If we simplify the equation, if you think that Europe is going to recover and move full steam ahead a couple of years down the line, this could be the right entry point.
Yes, and it's obviously Rand denominated, so it's accessible on our local exchange. You don't have to, go with complications of finding things that are listed in Europe that are traded in Frankfurt or whatever. Look, I mean, they've also had a history of sort of fighting with the receiver. They've, done quite a creative reorganization of their local assets. They just ponied up with Investec Asset Management and the PIC, and the next thing they shunted some stuff into JD Group and other stuff into CAP, and then swapped shares between the two and ended up controlling both. But if they can unlock those underlying value entities as well, there could be an additional local kicker. So I like it. I like it.
Hot or not? Steinhoff, does that translate into hot? Yes. Gary, hot or not? Steinhoff?
Yeah, not for me. I think if you do want European exposure, I think there's better ways of getting it than going through Steinhoff, rather something like DBX Euro Tracker for the South African investor. And also, I'd rather be buying the next pullback rather than getting in at the top here.
So?
Not hot for me.
Not hot.